Hello everyone and welcome to Hungry Heffy Crafts. My name is Lesley Oman and boy do I have a treat for you guys today. Not only will I be sharing this card featuring CHIBITRONICS, but also I will be sharing a slider switch tutorial so that you too can create a circuit and achieve this flashing light effect on your projects. I'm also super excited to announce that CHIBITRONICS and Hungry Heffy Crafts are pairing up. So over the next couple of months, I'll be bringing you more videos and also giving you a chance to win some awesome goodies from CHIBITRONICS. Later in this video, I'll be explaining exactly how you too can get your hands on a CHIBITRONICS starter kit so you can bring a little illumination to your projects. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future giveaways. For this card today, I thought it would be perfect to use a Christmas tree stamp from Stampendous. It's got these lovely whimsical Christmas trees on it. And I'm going to build up my background for my card. When I'm working with circuits, I tend to use a stitched rectangle die for my base. And then I build up the front using some other dies as well here. Here's my stamp and I want it to go right in the middle. It is a wood back stamp, but I'm going to be using it on my MISTI tool today. So I'll just gently peel this off. I can stick it back on. But because there's foam already on this grey rubber, I'll take my foam mat out of my MISTI before I stamp it. I'm lining this up before I close the door, and I want to make sure there's enough room for my Merry Christmas stamp at the bottom there, my little greeting. And that is a stamp from Amuse art stamps, and it's really cute and small, so it's perfect for this card. You may be wondering why I'm using some dark grey cardstock behind, and all will become clear a little bit later on. For the trees, I'm going to emboss these. So I'm using some Versa Fine ink, which has a nice black, rich black colour. And I'll make sure I stamp it on that snowy mound and then stamp it again on the background to complete the base of those trees. With the Versa Fine, it's perfect for embossing. So I'm sprinkling some clear embossing powder over the top on both the snowy mound and my background here. And then that means when I bring my heat gun to it and melt all of that powder, it becomes nice and bold. I'm going to be masking off each of my little trees. So I stamped again the trees onto some post-it note paper. And once I have all my trees and the little bases at the bottom covered up, I'm going to be bringing some colour to my background. I've picked 3 colours of distress inks. I've got chipped sapphire, wilted violet and peacock feathers, and I'm using a mini blending tool to bring the colour onto the cardstock. Now because my masks are quite delicate, I'm actually pouncing the blending tool up and down rather than moving it in a circular motion. With masks they can move if you go about with a circular motion. So this does take a little bit longer than normal, but the effect is worth it in the end. I really wanted a dark background for my card because on the trees in a little bit you'll see that I'm going to be using some special pearlescent paints from ArtQuest. It's the ArtQuest Stargazers watercolour palette, and these have little bits of mica in them, so it really is pearlescent, and these really do stand out the best when painted onto dark cardstock. I've tried it out before. It looks pretty on white cardstock or light colour cardstock, but it really does shine and you get that beautiful sheen on darker cardstock. So I'm adding this paint to all of my trees and following the embossed lines. And the great things with the embossed lines is that it acts as a little barrier, so you can actually go through fairly quickly and paint all of these elements. Now my white snow was actually a little bit too stark against my background. So I'm adding a little bit of blue ink to that, just to tone it down before I colour in the base of my trees. Now that I have my Christmas trees in place, I can move over to planning and creating the circuit underneath. Because I used a stitched rectangle die to create this tree piece here, I can take another piece and lay it underneath to create my circuit. but first I need to know where my lights will go. I'm using a silent setter tool to punch little holes in each of the areas where my lights will be, and then when I line up my base piece of cardstock, I can use a pencil to mark exactly where each of these lights will go, and I'll add a little letter so I can remind myself which colour I want to go where. The really fun thing about this card is that as you slide your finger left and right, you are connecting different circuits, creating this flashing light effect. So now as I lay down my tape, my copper tape, I'm going to try and explain how to build a circuit to achieve this look. As you can see, all of the lights are in the middle section of my card, and I've drawn some vertical lines so that the light is in the middle of my vertical line. I'm going to be adding copper tape along my pencil lines here. First of all, adding it below each of my lights towards the bottom section of the card, leaving a gap of about 1 inch. Then I'll add my tape to the upper sections of my lights. And each of these upper sections of copper tape will connect to one horizontal piece of tape which will run along towards the left hand side and will connect to the negative side of my battery. This means that each of my lights will indeed be always connected to one end of my battery, but in order to make them illuminate, we need to complete the circuit. So I'll put my first light in place and test it out with a piece of copper tape and continue to stick down each of my little LED stickers and test it along the way. Now you will notice that each of these LED stickers has a little negative and plus symbol on them so that you can make sure that you attach them the right way around, because it does matter. To complete this circuit, we need a piece of copper tape to be positioned so that I can complete the connection when I run my finger along the card. So I've glued on a piece of copy paper just to the side running out to the left, which can then be connected on one end to the positive side of my battery and then folded over above my other little circuits. Here we go. What do you think? Now, to make sure that the copper tape on the copy paper isn't always completing the circuit when I'm not touching it, I've added a few squares of foam tape to keep that copy paper just so that it stays a little bit above the copper tape. So I now need to add the pressure to connect those circuits. Now my circuit is done, I can add some foam tape all the way around my outside edge of my card and assemble it all together. Now there was one light where the copy paper was drooping down, so I'm taking my tweezers and adding another piece of foam underneath there, so that means that it's not drooping down and connecting the circuit. I want my card to be even, so I'm adding another piece of foam tape just over some of those copper tapes. It's not going to make a difference, it's not going to affect the circuit at all. And I'll assemble my top piece and I can continue with the rest of my card. So I wanted to add a little greeting underneath the base of each of my trees. So I'm using this really small, cute, whimsical stamp that says Merry Christmas. And I'm going to emboss this underneath my tree bases with some white embossing powder. And that will really pop against the dark background. For my frame, I'm adding another layer of foam tape just so I can have a little bit of dimension on here. And then for the greeting, I'm going to stick that straight onto my background using some sticky tape. I thought it would be nice to add a little bit more colour to my card, so to finish it off, I inked up another piece of cardstock with the same 3 colours of distress inks, and then ran that through my Cuttlebug with the Mum Elephant dotted detail die, the little frame, and I used my glue pen to stick that in place right over the frame. Just brings an extra pop of colour, I think, and a bit of interest to the card. As a final touch, I did add a little bit more paint to the bases of my tree so I could get a nice pearlescent shine. I love these paints. I think they're amazing. You get such a shimmer from them. Here's a little bit of a closer look, but of course the real magic happens when I run my finger along the front of the card and I get that really cool flashing effect. Now over to the details for the giveaway. Our friends over at CHIBITRONICS is sponsoring this giveaway where you too can win a CHIBITRONICS starter kit for your crafty projects. All you need to do is you can leave a comment on this video on YouTube, or there's more ways to win over on Instagram. You can follow me at Hungry Heffy over there, find the original post and tag a friend using the hashtag HeffyTronics16. The entries will close on the 31st of December and the winner announced on the 1st of January. Thank you so much for joining me today. Here's a couple more of my videos if you'd like to take a look. Bye!